Hello everyone and welcome back to another Marvel Champions video. Today I received the newest hero pack for Marvel Champions, which is Nebula. She was released today. I'm going to open the pack, show off some of the cards, and then I'm going to take her and probably play her in a solo testing game against Rhino. That's usually who I test against. I've also read that Crossbones from the Rise of Red Skull is also a good character to test against, as he's the first villain that you encounter in that campaign. He's one of the easier ones. But we're probably going to test against Rhino, because I got that deck set up. I don't think I have the Crossbones deck fully assembled at the moment. I think some of the modules are in different decks right now. But anyway, Nebula came out today. I did a video on her a while ago showing off some of her core cards when some of the cards were initially revealed. I haven't looked at much of her cards, so I don't really know exactly like how she plays. It's probably going to take a little bit of time to get used to. So I'm interested in seeing how she actually plays. Again, this came out today. This is the September pack. Again, a lot of delays for product, at least North America. I believe Mad Titan Shadow is delayed at least until there's like a placeholder date, or was a placeholder date until the end of October. And I've read somewhere on Reddit that it's actually looks like it's now listed as November for both the Hood and for Mad Titan Shadow. So hopefully we'll get those at some point. But there's probably like delays all over gaming. Marvel Champions is no exception. But they also announced don't know what event it was, but they announced the new Vision hero deck. So Vision's going to be coming out. Vision was leaked a while ago as being a hero in the game. We actually got to see some of the cards. It wasn't a lot of them, but he looks pretty interesting because he does have this whole thing where he has like, I think it's like different matter forms, or like, so he can be in tangible form or in intangible form, and depending on what form you're in, you can do certain things. So we got that, and then we have the next campaign box after Mad Titan Shadow is Sinister Motives, which looks like it's going to focus on the Sinister Six. So like the cover had like, Electro, Sandman, Kraven, Mysterio, and so on. It also had Venom, the Eddie Brock version of Venom, not Flash Thompson, as well as looks like we're supposed to be getting Miles Morales in that set, as well as probably Spider-Gwen, I think, or like it's I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but it's the kind of like the white and pink Spider-Man. So I'm thinking it's going to be Spider-Gwen, which we also saw in the Spider-Verse cartoon or animated movie. But anyway, now that those are all products that are coming up, we have Nebula to take a look at. So we're going to go ahead and get her open, and then I'm going to, again, test her against Rhino, and I'm going to let you know how the game went and what I think of the deck. Let's go ahead and crack this here. Here's a better look at the little insert when we don't have the kind of glare from the plastic on it. So there's Nebula. At the back of that, we have our poster here. So here's our mini Nebula poster. And then let's see if there's any new hero or any new keywords. So it looks like there's going to be piercing. Piercing basically discards tough statuses before the attack happens. So basically it negates toughness. We have Stalwart. Character with Stalwart keyword cannot be stunned or confused. I think that's been in there before. And Team Up is a mechanic that's been in other sets. But the Team Up keyword names two characters to include a card with the Team Up keyword. In your deck, your chosen identity must match one of the named characters. Additionally, a card with the Team Up keyword cannot be played unless both of the named characters, hero or ally, are in play. So they've done those with, I believe Scarlet Witch has it, and so does Quicksilver. Like a lot of the kind of duo cards have that, where even in a solo game, you can actually get it to work, because there is I believe, an ally version of Nebula, or not Nebula, Gamora potentially in this deck. We're going to take a look at it. But usually in a lot of the Guardians of the Galaxy sets, there are the ally versions of other characters in those decks. So if you control, let's say I have the ally version of Gamora out with this version of Nebula, I can then use I believe it's called Daughters of Thanos, and that is their team up card. So yeah, so here is Nebula. That's the hero version of Nebula there, if it wants to actually focus. There we are. So there's Nebula, and there is also the allied version of Gamora. So we have this version of Gamora. So if you control both, like Nebula and Gamora like that, you can use the team up card. So let's take a look at Nebula here. So Nebula, alter ego side, 3 recovery. She's an outlaw. Has cybernetic upgrades, which is a response after you play a technique upgrade. Draw 2 cards, and it's limited once per round. Hand size is 6, and hit points are 9. So there's Nebula's alter ego. If I can get the camera to actually want to focus on the card there. Anyway, that is the alter ego of Nebula, and then the hero form is Nebula. Hand size goes down to 5, 9 hit points, 2 thwart, 2 attack, 2 defense. She's a guardian, and has combat protocols, which is as a force response after your turn begins, resolve the special ability on each technique upgrade you control, then discard each technique upgrade resolved this way. So you see how it works again. After your turn begins, resolve the special ability on each technique upgrade. So you have a bunch of them. Once you basically begin your turn, those technique upgrades will trigger, and then they'll get discarded. So if you don't want a technique to trigger, you can flip back into alter ego mode. It looks like it sounds like you can actually build up your techniques in such a way to kind of maximize how they work. So that's Nebula, and then we have Nebula's ship. These are all upgrades. And it looks like this is a Justice deck here. So we have like a bunch of yellow cards. So it's a Justice build, and let's see. And then here is... There's her obligation. I don't think I've seen the obligation before, which is inferiority complex. Obviously feeling inferior to Gamora, and obviously more favored by having Gamora be more favored by Thanos. And then we have our Gamora minion. So just like in the Gamora deck, we have a Nebula minion. In this deck, we have a Gamora minion. And I believe Nebula is now the first character, as far as I know, that has been, now she's a hero. So she's a hero in this set, a villain in the Guardians of the Galaxy's Most Wanted set, and ally in, I think it was an ally in Gamora's set, and also a nemesis in Gamora's set. So she's been all 4 types of characters here. So here's her cards, and here's the stopping point. So here's the cards for basic, protection, leadership, and aggression. So Nebula again being a Justice deck. And then here is our Nemesis set, which features Gamora and her obligation. So that's just a quick look at some of the cards. We're going to go ahead. I'm going to get the cameras switched off. Going to sleeve these up, and then I'm going to play against Rhino. Going to come back, let you know what I think of the deck, how my games went, and all that. So we'll be right back with that. We'll be right back. Thanks. All right, and we are back after playing our first game. It was close, but I ended up winning. I ended up, I think, having a pretty good hand, and was able to get actually one card that really helped out is this ally version of Gamora. So Gamora, the way it's written, 3 resources, and after you play Gamora, choose a technique upgrade you control, then resolve its special ability. So the trick with this version of Gamora is you want to have either play a technique before you play her, or have one in play already. So once you start your turn off as Nebula here, it triggers all of your techniques, and then they get discarded. So basically the way it's worded is force response. After your turn begins, resolve the special ability on each technique upgrade you control, then discard each technique upgrade resolved this way. So you do have to flip between her alter ego form and her hero form quite a bit to kind of have your techniques go off in a way that you want. So if let's say I have her in alter ego form, I can flip to hero form, play technique upgrades, and then on the next turn, when you're on hero form, those technique upgrades will trigger and you'll discard them. But for example, let's say I discard all the upgrades, play more upgrades, and then flip back to alter ego form. Those technique upgrades won't trigger until the next turn after you flip, because like at the end of your turn, you'll be in alter ego form. Beginning of your turn, you flip. Your turn's already started, so I don't believe they trigger, because it says after your turn begins, I think it has to begin on this side. So you kind of have to play your technique upgrades in such a way that you are not triggering them every turn. Because like you might have like a big play. There's a couple really good upgrades. So one of them is the Weapon Master. So Weapon Master is while in hero form, Nebula gets Retaliate 1. So when she gets attacked, she pings the damage to something. And then the special is deal 4 damage to an enemy. So that's one of them. The other really good one that I really liked was Wide Stance. So what Wide Stance does, it's when she's in hero form, reduce the amount of damage taken by 1. That actually prevented me from actually losing a couple times. And then the special is look at the top 3 cards of the encounter deck, discard one, and put the others back in any order. So I used this like 3 times, and I was able to get rid of a lot of really bad cards from the encounter deck. So I got rid of Shadows of the Past that way. So I made it so the Nemesis version of Gamora never came into play. There were some where it would allow Rhino to heal. So one turn I actually used it to get rid of that one. And so you look at the top 3, you choose one to discard, and the other 2 can go get put back in whatever order you want. So I also was stacking cards on top when I knew Rhino would be attacking that had no boost icon. So it was like his attack was just going to be whatever his base attack was. If he had any like upgrades on him that gave him additional attack, those would still stack on it. But he didn't get any additional attack with boost cards. So I would put those kind of things on there, and then whatever the like I would discard one, and usually one would be the attack, the other one would be the encounter card. So I stacked them in such a way where I was able to kind of minimize the amount of damage or bad stuff that was going to happen. So this one here, the Wide Stance, is really good. This one, Weapon Master, is very good at doing damage. And then there's another one, when it triggers, you remove 3 threat from a scheme. And her being a Justice deck, there's like a lot of pretty good cards in there. There is, I think it's Brains Over Brawn, which is whenever you make a basic thwart, you also then deal damage to something equal to whatever your thwart was. So, for example, Nebula comes in with 2. She has basically 2, 2, and 2. I had an upgrade that gave her +1 thwart, so I was able to, thwart for 3, play Brains Over Brawn, and then also do 3 damage as well. It got very close. I was down to, I think, like 1 health with Nebula at one point. And then one of her alter ego skills, or alter ego events, is that you can shuffle 2 technique cards from your discard pile back into your deck, or you can discard cards on the top of the deck until you get a technique upgrade. I actually did the second option and ended up burning through most of my deck because a lot of the tech upgrades were kind of like were already in play or out or in the bottom of my deck. But that allowed me to cycle my deck, which allowed me to get Gamora out twice. So that actually ended up working out because I had Gamora out, triggered a technique upgrade with her, and it triggers it without it getting discarded. So the way it's worded here is choose a technique upgrade you control, then resolve its special ability. So you basically, if I had this one out, and I actually did this once, deal 4 damage, and then basically on my turn, when my turn started again, this was still in play, so I was able to do 4 more damage before getting discarded. So cycling my deck with that card, again, allowed me to get Gamora out. I had her out once, did some thwarting with her, did some attacks with her, had her trigger a technique upgrade. She eventually ended up getting defeated, or I blocked or something like that to prevent damage to Nebula, and then she got discarded. And then eventually I went through my encounter deck, went through my deck, got an additional encounter card, shuffled my discard pile up, drew it to my hand size, and then eventually drew Gamora again and used her. Nowhere is also a really good card in this deck because Nowhere increases your ally limit by 1, and then whenever you play a Guardian ally, you can exhaust Nowhere to draw a card. So I was able to basically play Nebula, or not play Gamora, exhaust Nowhere, draw a card. I ended up getting, I think I had a total of 3 Guardians out, not at the same time, but throughout the course of the game. I had Gamora, Cosmo the dog, and also Venom. So Flash Thompson is an ally in this one as well. Flash Thompson has a pretty good attack, so he can basically attack for 3, and he has 2 consequential damage. But and this didn't trigger for me at all. But if the main scheme has no threat on it, he doesn't take the consequence. I think it's he doesn't take the consequential damage or something like that. But ended up you had to use quite a bit of strategy with her because you had to definitely realize when you need to be in hero form and when you need to be in alter ego form to make sure that you're not burning through all of your technique upgrades in one shot. So you can basically have her play a couple when she's in hero form, flip her to alter ego form, play another one, flip back to hero form, and then eventually just build up enough of those upgrades to have a huge turn. And I had that happen once or twice. So overall, this deck is really interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what people actually deck build with it because I'm just using the deck I played was just the kind of basic pre-built deck. It's a Justice deck. She could be really interesting in an aggression deck as well. I might want to try building an aggression deck with her at some point. But that's going to do it for this, basically, this unboxing and this mini review. So Nebula, definitely a very interesting character. Has some really cool abilities. Like some of her technique upgrades are really interesting. Has, I think, like feels pretty thematic, like where basically she's doing her thing, like upgrading herself, and then potentially like maybe it's like, okay, I use this ability, I don't have that ability anymore, I'm gonna get rid of that thing. So that's gonna do it for this video. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll be back again with more Marvel Champions videos as more and more cards from these upcoming sets get revealed. Hopefully we get some more clarification on when the actual release dates for the Hood and Mad Titan Shadow are. Right now they were, again, supposed to come out, or at least Mad Titan Shadow was supposed to come out in August. Got pushed back to the end of October, and is now being listed as November. So hopefully we'll get some updates on that. We'll see how it goes. There's, shipping delays and shortages all over in the gaming world, unfortunately. So we just have to basically wait and see what happens. But in the meantime, I'm going to probably mess around more with Nebula and see if get a few more games in with her. But again, that's going to do it for this video. So remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll see you again next time. Thanks again for watching, and take care.